Hey there movie lovers, welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're strapping in and heading to the danger zone with the 1986 high-flying classic Top Gun. Packed with adrenaline-fueled aerial combat, unforgettable quotes, and a soundtrack that defined an era. This film turned fighter pilots into global superstars and made aviator sunglasses a cultural phenomenon. But beyond the jets and the beach volleyball, there's a treasure trove of fascinating behind-the-scenes stories. So buckle up, feel the need for speed, and let's take off with 20 things you never knew about Top Gun. The film was inspired by an article published in California magazine in 1983, which chronicled the writer's experiences with pilots at the US Navy Fighter Weapons School, better known as Top Gun. The piece offered readers a vivid insight into life as a fighter pilot, from flying into Fighter Town, USA, to nights spent drinking and racing through quiet towns at 100 miles an hour without headlights. Shortly after its publication, the article caught the attention of Jerry Bruckheimer, who went on to share it with his producing partner Don Simpson. The film couldn't rely on green screens or CGI for its aerial sequences, which made use of real fighter jets and fully qualified pilots essential. This decision came at a significant cost, with the Pentagon charging $1.8 million for access to the aircraft and US Navy ships. Tom Cruise's baptism of fire in a real F-14 was quickly followed by an urgent need for a sick bag. While the intense G-forces proved too much for most of the cast, Anthony Edwards, who played Goose, did not vomit, earning him the unofficial title of having the strongest stomach. Kelly McGillis's character was based on a woman named Christine Fox, who, like McGillis, was tall, blonde and leggy, and was known for the distinctive sound of her clacking high heels. Fox, who stood at about 6 feet, reportedly inspired the character's physical presence and confidence. During development, the filmmakers initially envisaged Charlie as either a groupie or a gymnast, but this approach changed after the producers met Fox, whose call sign was said to be Legs. While the fictional Charlie was written as an astrophysicist, Fox was in reality a mathematician, working at the Center for Naval Analysis. Christine Fox's achievements extended far beyond her influence on Top Gun. She later served as acting US Deputy Secretary of Defense from 2013 to 2014, becoming the highest-ranking woman in the department's history at the time. Although any tensions on set are now long forgotten, there were genuine sparks between Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer during filming. Fresh out of Juilliard, Kilmer reportedly adopted a method-acting approach which heightened the on-screen rivalry between their characters. In a later documentary, Kilmer admitted that he deliberately extended his competitiveness off-camera, resulting in a noticeable divide within the cast and an absence of socializing outside of work. It was also reported that Cruise and his on-screen love interest, Kelly McGillis, shared very little romantic chemistry, and, in fact, did not get along particularly well. Although they briefly reunited at a film premiere in 2010, they were said to have been perfectly content to go their separate ways afterwards. Saturday Night Fever star John Travolta was initially approached to play Maverick, but after prolonged negotiations with his agent, the producers abandoned the idea, deciding that his fee was simply too high. Even after talks with Travolta collapsed, Cruise himself initially turned the role down. The casting search then expanded to include an impressive list of names, such as Patrick Swayze, Emilio Estevez, Nicolas Cage, John Cusack, Matthew Broderick, Sean Penn, Michael J. Fox, Scott Baio, and even Tom Hanks, none of whom showed interest in the aviation-themed blockbuster. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer eventually persuaded Cruise by capitalizing on the connection between director Tony Scott and his brother Ridley Scott, who had directed Cruise in Legend the previous year. To ensure authenticity and secure access to military resources, producers Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer entered into a partnership with the US Navy. As part of this arrangement, the Navy was granted a degree of creative control over the script. As a result, several alterations were made to the original screenplay, including the opening dogfight was relocated from Cuban airspace to international waters, likely to avoid political sensitivities. A scene involving a crash on the deck of an aircraft carrier was removed. Maverick's love interest was changed from a fellow Navy service member to a civilian contractor, presumably to comply with Navy regulations regarding fraternization. Riding on the coattails of the film's success, the Navy set up recruiting booths in major cinemas across the country, aiming to attract adrenaline-fueled Maverick hopefuls as they left the theatre. This tactic reportedly resulted in the highest application rates the Navy had seen in several years. Top Gun was based on a real flight school known as the US Navy Fighter Weapons School, or Top Gun. The film's enormous success inevitably led to millions of cinema-goers repeating its many memorable lines. This quickly became tiresome at the real-life Top Gun school, which reportedly introduced a $5 fine for any staff member caught quoting the film. Stunt pilot Art Scholl was tragically killed during the film's production at the age of 54. His Pitts S2 camera plane failed to recover from a flat spin and plunged into the Pacific Ocean. Neither the aircraft nor his body was ever recovered. His final words, transmitted over the aircraft's radio, were reported to have indicated that he was experiencing a serious problem. The film was dedicated to his life. Tom Cruise's height difference with his co-stars, a recurring issue throughout his career, posed a challenge during filming. On Top Gun, the contrast between Cruise, who stood at 5'7", and Kelly McGillis at 5'10", reportedly concerned Paramount. To create a more balanced on-screen pairing, Cruise was provided with custom-made boots featuring lifts, while McGillis was reportedly advised to avoid footwear, so that their heights appeared more evenly matched. Before becoming an iconic anthem, Take My Breath Away, written by Giorgio Moroder and Tom Whitlock, was offered to the Motels, who turned it down. Even Berlin's lead singer, Terry Nunn, was initially hesitant about the song. However, her powerful performance, which conveyed the desperation of a woman on the edge, ultimately convinced the band. The track went on to skyrocket in popularity and became Berlin's biggest hit. Its success was ultimately crowned with an Academy Award for Best Original Song. The love scene between Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis was filmed after initial test screenings, but by that time McGillis had already dyed her hair darker for her next film. As a result, the sequence was given a blue tint to mask the change. The reshoots are also noticeable due to the longer length of Tom Cruise's hair, particularly at the front. The elevator scene in which Maverick and Charlie meet after his workout was also filmed after principal photography had wrapped. Kelly McGillis, having already coloured her hair, had to wear a hat, while Cruise's hair appears noticeably longer. In an interview, director Tony Scott explained that he wanted a specific shot of aircraft landing and taking off, with the sun backlighting the scene. However, while filming was underway, the aircraft carrier altered its course, causing the lighting to change. To return the ship to its original heading, Scott recalled that the captain told him it would cost $25,000. He went on to say that he wrote the check himself in order to secure the shot. Several technical inaccuracies in Top Gun have been highlighted over the years. These include the fact that there is no such thing as a Top Gun trophy, that the MiG-28s shown in the film are actually black-painted F-5Fs, and that real Top Gun classes are conducted in classrooms, rather than inside a hangar. Also, at one point, Goose is heard warning Maverick that the aircraft is going ballistic. despite the fact that a pilot would have no control over an aircraft once it had entered a truly ballistic state. The 1987 VHS release of Top Gun marked the first time the format included an official commercial before the film. A 60-second Top Gun-inspired Diet Pepsi advertisement was featured, which allowed US retailers to reduce the price by $3. There were some ideas that never made it into the final film. An early draft of the script specified that the final showdown would involve North Korean aircraft. In the completed version, the nationalities of the enemy planes were deliberately left ambiguous, with the script simply identifying them as MiGs over the Indian Ocean. The film was also originally intended to include a late scene in which Maverick visited Goose's grave. Although a filmed version of this moment was never released, still images showing how the scene would have appeared exist. Toto were initially the first band selected to record and release Top Gun's lead single, Danger Zone, but disagreements between the film's producers and the band's lawyers ultimately ended their involvement. Bryan Adams was likewise considered, but chose not to take part, objecting to what he felt was the film's glorification of war. The song eventually went to Kenny Loggins, who transformed it into a fist-pumping classic. When the film's soundtrack, featuring hits such as Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone and Berlin's Take My Breath Away, was released on the 15th of May 1986, it proved to be a juggernaut, much like the film itself. It spent several weeks at number 1 on the Billboard album charts, and by July 2000, following a 1999 special edition release that added new tracks, total sales had reached 9 million. As an action film, it was perhaps inevitable that Top Gun would inspire a high-octane roller coaster experience. In 1993, when Kings Island Amusement Park in Mason, Ohio was owned by Paramount, the Top Gun-themed ride was constructed. The suspended coaster was designed to emulate an F-14 Tomcat, with Danger Zone playing over the PA system as visitors queued. A similar attraction also operated at California's Great America in Santa Clara from 1993 until 2007. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about Top Gun. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.